What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Alex Reviews. So, I like series, like YouTube series, and they're very entertaining. I don't get to see many of them now because a lot of YouTubers are starting to go over to YouTube Red. Therefore, I'm not able to see them, so because I don't have YouTube Red. But I do like the ones that are still on there. And my favorite, Video Game High School. I fucking love Video Game High School. It was made by Freddie Wong and the guys at RocketJump. It lasted 3 seasons, and man, was the show awesome. So today, I'm here to review every single, well, there's only 9 of them, because it's a short film series thing. But I'm here to review all the episodes of Season 1, go into a little bit of detail if I like them or not, because I did go back and rewatch this series yesterday, and I don't know, it just came up on my recommended, and I was like, wow, I haven't seen this in a while. I should go and rewatch it. So I did, and I really enjoyed it. So I figured I'd review Season 1 of Video Game High School. Let's go. Season 1, Episode 1, Shot Heard Around the World. Ordinary and wimpy high school student Brian Doheny rushes home to play his favorite online game, Field of Fire, and after he's being stopped by bullies, he is able to kill a world-famous FPS player called The Law, and he's accepted into Video Game High School. This episode, it was the first episode. I don't know how much longer they plan the series to go on. I don't think long, because this wasn't that greatly edited. Then again, it was made in early 2012, so gotta give it a little bit of a break. Not a great introduction. It did make me want to see the next episode, since I knew there was one. But if there was just one episode out at the time, I probably wouldn't have continued or cared. But it's a decent introduction. You need to watch it to get the second episode. So, second episode. Season 1, Episode 2, Welcome to Me. It's Brian and Keith's first day at Video Game High School, and they meet Dean Calhoun, who is like the principal thing, played by the guy from Epic Mealtime, and Jenny, who is another famous FPS player, but she is the junior varsity team captain, who Brian has a crush on. Brian plays his first FPS game at VGHS, and he wins, and he causes the Annihilist to get expelled. The Law catches up to him at the end of the episode, and he shows his hate for Brian. And what I really like what they did here, they tried to make The Law nice in the beginning. And really, I would have felt like if they would have kept The Law nice for a while, but secretly trying to stab him in the back, and then later on in the series, like, I'll get to the episode I think they should have, like, boom, cast the bullet at. But I understand they wanted to make him crazy, so they decided to just make him crazy in the second episode, which is fine. But I think it would have been a little bit more effective if they did that. Great second episode. The show is a little bit cringy with its jokes and humor at first, but once you get up to it, and once you get past, like, the 5th episode, so halfway through Season 1, you'll get used to it, and it'll get much better. I only cringed, like, one time from the second half of Season 1, so, yeah. Season 1, Episode 3, When You Know the Pit. Brian has a nightmare of the Laws who made threats about him, and he wakes up to find that the school hates him. He tells Calhoun that he'll keep a low profile, but then he attends the freshman FPS class taught by Ace and assistant Jenny. Brian has volunteered to play a time shooter, The Pit, and which he tries to beat Jenny's high score. He almost beats the record, but he gets a little cocky and he fails. But after seeing that, Jenny invites Brian to go to her party that she's hosting the next night. Decent episode. Nothing much really happened, especially with, like, Ted. Oh, I don't even think I introduced Ted. He's Brian's roommate and best friend, but yeah, I don't think really much happened here for the main plot of the season. So yeah, it's a decent episode. You need to watch the entire thing, but it wasn't really great or anything. Any game in the house. Brian, Ted, and Key go to Jenny's party, and when Brian and Jenny are alone, they reveal to each other that they both like this dance game called DXM. When they were younger, Jenny mentions that her mother was a coach for a FPS team. The Law challenges Brian to any game in the house, and he chooses DXM. The Law wins the game, but everyone's impressed by Brian's dancing skills. And while Ted and Key are on their first date, Ted fails to impress Key on a rhythmic game, but she shows him one of her games, and then they meet the Drift King, who bullies Ted into a drifting game. Ted goes into a hypnotized state after playing, and Brian finds out that Jenny is dating the Law, his worst nightmare, because he has a huge crush on Jenny. And the Law is able to notice this. I do like how they hint that the Law notices this. This is a good episode. A little bit cringy in, like, the early, like, the first few, like, the second and fourth minutes of it. But it gets a lot better as the episode goes on. And I really like the Drift King, Rocky Collins, Rip. Love him, and especially in this series. Season 1, Episode 5, and then The Law. The next day, Brian prepares for junior varsity FPS scrimmage and finds out that students are betting on him and the Law. At rhythmic gaming class, Ted's father, Freddie, which that's who instructs him. Ted ignores the fact that Freddie calls him no good and blacks out, dreaming about drift racing. Brian gets up, pumped up by Jenny's pregame speech, learning the game will not be affected by her relationship with the Law, but then hears from the Law that he put her up to putting him in the scrimmage. And the Law finds out about this when he opens a locker. That's the point that we should have figured out that he was, like, plotting against Brian. I feel like that would have worked way much better, but then you would have had to change the past 2 episodes. And I understand they didn't want to do that. But it's perfectly fine the way it is. But I think it could have just been a little bit better if you tweaked episodes 3 and 4. And then after this episode, it stops becoming, like, cringy, by the way. Also, I forgot to tell you at the end of episode 4 that Brian gets the spot over Games Dean as to who gets put on the junior varsity freshman. So then, Season 1, Episode 6, Carpe Diem. After the terrible junior varsity scrimmage game, which junior varsity got crushed in by the Law and his buddies, Brian becomes the laughingstock of video game high school. He's asked to leave by school administration, and then he starts a fight with Games Dean. He's about to lose, but then he gets some backup from Jenny, and he wins, and he stays in the school. Ted continues to see visions of drift car racing, and he's asked to sign up for it by the Drift King, who is really nice compared to the other people in the Drift King clique. Sign up to sign out. Games Dean accuses Brian of moving in on Jenny, and Jenny tells Brian that they can't talk anymore, hoping to please the varsity captain, Law, her boyfriend, to get on varsity. He tries to sign up for the FPS team, but he gets in a fight with the Law and his followers. Brian signs up for the FPS team, but for starting a schoolyard brawl with the Law, he's expelled. He does win, by the way. He tells Jenny the Law will not allow her on varsity, and she storms off. Ted gets the courage to tell his father he isn't a rhythmic gamer and wants to drift, but Freddie convinces him to sign up for rhythmic gaming. Key switches the IDs and signs Ted up for drift racing, thinking that that'll be better for him, but that ends their relationship instead because it gets Ted's father mad at him. Good episode here. I really like the fight. I like that Brian wins the fight. They could have just easily said the Law wins the fight and then Brian gets exploded. But Brian wins the fight. That shows that there's something about him, that he has a sense of strength in him. I did really like this episode. It's probably my favorite episode of the season, besides maybe this next episode. Locked in the System. Wandering the streets after getting expelled, Brian takes over an arcade. Ted shows up to the arcade, hoping Brian will come back to the FPS tryouts. Key shows up, hoping to win back Ted, and Jenny shows up to apologize to Brian. Jenny tells Brian that she broke up with the Law, and that she thinks Brian will still try out for FPS. Ted realizes that he hates his father, and that Key cares for him. Jenny and Brian make up over a game of DXM, and Ted and Key make up. I really like this episode. It's pretty funny. Also, Jenny is telling Brian while they're playing the roller ball game that just a bunch of stuff, and then she says, and I broke up with the Law, and then she goes off on something else, and then Brian looks at her and is like, you broke up with the Law, and then she's like, that's all you remember from that conversation? That got me laughing for a good bit. That was pretty funny. Even though I was waiting for the joke, I called it, but I don't know, it was still pretty funny. And Season 1, Episode 9, it's all about the game. And this is like the motto that they've had the whole season. It's all about the game. Which I agree with. When you're playing a video game, it's all about the game. So, yeah. Anyways, it's tryout day at VGHS. Key's trying out for Freddy's Rhythmic Team, Ted suited up for drift racing, and Brian has to play FOF. And the FPS tryouts are aired live worldwide for some reason. I don't really know why, but they are. And not wanting to be shown up, the Law enters the game aiming for Jenny and Brian. With the team thinking that they are done, Jenny and Brian hatch a plan to sacrifice the rest of the team so that Brian can meet the Law face to face. There, Brian takes on the Law's team, wins the game, gets back into VGHS, gains a spot on Junior Varsity, and he gets Jenny. They kiss. And Brian meets up with Ted and Key, who also got onto their teams. And yeah, that is Season 1. The finale episode is pretty good. You can tell that the fighting that they've done, they did better with their editing and everything. They've gotten a lot better at it by the end of the season. This is a very good episode. This was a good season. It really got me in the feel of Video Game High School. I really like the idea. I really love the concept. I think it's well written after the first few episodes where some of the jokes are a bit corny. You might not like it. If you don't like fast-paced things, you might not like the show. The show is actually fairly fast-paced, whether you like it or not, or whether you agree with me or not. I think that it's fast-paced, even though the episodes are 20 minutes long. I mean, it feels like I finished it in about 5 or 10 minutes. So, yeah, that's Video Game High School. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. RocketJump made it. I'm going to be doing more stuff like this, where I have, I'm going to, review seasons of things. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.